So, Death Battle Season 10 ended about a month ago now, and we are well into the hype for the new season, which means people are going wild with predicting matchups for the show. And a very fun way people like to compile their predictions is doing a bingo sheet to predict matchups, franchises, and or characters to feature on the show. And as you can tell by the title and purpose of this video, I hopped onto the trend because it's fun, and I like fun. It also involves so much copium. So, I want to go through my bingo sheet and talk about some ideas I think are likely for Death Battle Season 11 in a second. First, I want to set something clear. As you probably know, Death Battle did the Tournament of Champions. Tournament with a bunch of community matchups that the community would then vote on to find out which one would become an official episode for Season 11. The winner of the TOC was Wile E. Coyote versus Tom the Cat, hence why it's in the free space. However, you may notice some ideas on the bingo sheet that were in the TOC but didn't quite win. Despite public opinion, just because a matchup lost to TOC doesn't mean it's not a possible option to happen in Season 11. This is a popular misconception, likely because the Season 10 ballot did have that caveat. If a matchup lost the Season 10 ballot, they could not appear in Season 10. However, that rule isn't applied to the TOC simply because it's going on a much larger scale. The Season 10 ballot had 12 matchups divided into 2 categories, so only 10 real losers. The TOC, on the other hand, has 32 matchups and 1 winner. That would blacklist 31 insanely popular matchups from the season. Probably not a good idea to do that, so matchups that lost to TOC are still able to appear in Season 11, just not 100% confirmed like Tom vs. Wily. Since I've mentioned it, Season 10 ballot losers. Almost all of the Season 10 ballot losers are still incredibly likely and popular. So, while obviously not all of them are going to happen this season, they are all still incredibly and individually likely. I don't have all of them on my bingo sheet because I just feel some are more likely than others, and that would make for a really boring bingo. But in reality, most of them are similarly likely. I think that's all the preamble. So let's actually get into these damn ideas now, some of which I will definitely have more to talk about than others. Alright, first and foremost, Mickey Mouse versus Bugs Bunny. Starting off with a weird one here. So, for the longest time, Mickey versus Bugs was actually confirmed to happen as an episode at some point, similar to Galactus vs. Unicron and Ruby vs. Mecha. However, while it's not confirmed anymore, Galactus vs. Unicron, again, also was deconfirmed, and yeah, that still happened. So, yeah, it's still very much possible. Though what makes me more confident now than ever in the matchup's likelihood is that Season 11 is a very special season. It will contain the 200th episode of the show. 200 fucking episodes. And we know Ben and Chad don't take the 100 milestone lightly, as shown in just how big Mario vs. Sonic 2 was. So you know they're going all out with episode 200, and the matchup is going to be huge. So what better matchup than one of the single most requested ideas, and one that the team is obviously really wanting to do. It would simply be the perfect time to do Mickey vs. Bugs. And would be an ironic time too, since Mickey Mouse or Steamboat Willie made public domain this year, so be very ironic. However, Mickey vs. Bugs isn't the only potential option for episode 200, as we will discuss a little bit later. The second matchup on my bingo is Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat versus Jago from Killer Instinct. This is an incredibly popular matchup, even despite Killer Instinct being less than recognizable nowadays. However, despite that, this is still a huge legacy and rivalry matchup. And Liu Kang can absolutely carry an episode himself if he needs to, especially with MK1 being so recent. Also, it's kind of weird that Liu Kang hasn't been on the show yet. He's literally the protagonist of a franchise that brings them a lot of views. Liu Kang is a long overdue character, especially with MK1. Now would be a great time to do him, and Jago's kind of the only option that makes sense. Hype for this matchup really is just Liu Kang feat Jago, huh? Another character that feels quite overdue on the show is a turtle. The TMNT Battle Royale was literally the 4th episode of the show, and for such a popular and well-known franchise, it's weird that the only TMNT episodes we've had since Season 1 are Shredder vs. Silver Samurai and Leo vs. Jason. We've only had a single turtle return for a solo episode since Season 1, so we are long overdue for another one. Especially with Mutant Mayhem and the Rise movie popping off last year, and a brand new TMNT show already in the works. But which turtle would they go with first? Mikey. It's gonna be Mikey. Look, I love Raph and Donnie, but Mikey is the one who got to cast, and whose most likely opponent, Jay from Ninjago, comes from a new and highly requested franchise. It is a hugely popular idea, and one the team really enjoys. Could another turtle be possible? Sure. Donnie versus him, or Raph versus... I have no idea who the fuck Raph is going to fight, but Donnie versus Tim was another fairly popular idea. Even a non-turtle matchup could be possible, like Splinter vs. Shifu. However, while those are possible, I wouldn't really call them as likely as Mikey vs. Jay. Next is Looser Than, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this one, it's borderline confirmed. It is the modern cartoon match. Incredibly popular and well requested. Owlphobia is going to get mad views. The team is super into the matchup, etc. And now is the exact time to do it. They waited to do Steven vs. Star and missed the window. They're not going to make that same mistake again. Hell, people voted against the matchup in the Tournament of Champions simply because of how soft confirmed it was. It is going to happen. Of all the matchups on this list, this is one of the predictions I'm most confident about. Alright, so now going from pure confidence to pure copium. One thing peculiar about my bingo is that not all the slots are exactly matchups. I have predictions that are purely single characters, one of them is an entire medium of media, and like this one, specific franchises. Do this because it just makes for a more interesting bingo, and because there's a lot more that goes into deciding what matchups Death Battle does than just the matchups themselves. What specific franchises the team wants to use is a big part of that. One of the specific franchises I feel is likely to appear, especially next season, is Digimon. This decision does have actual thought and backing behind it, aside from me just really fucking wanting Digimon. 2024 is expected to be a big year for Digimon, with the anime turning 25, new projects being projected to pop off this year, 2023 being a huge year itself, etc. Digimon also hasn't been on the show since season 4, and only has 2 episodes, despite its relative popularity and practically being made for verses. The team has shown mild interest in it, doing Astro's Tai as a cast last year. It also has quite a few popular matchups, such as Guilmon vs. Mega Man EXE, Gogeta vs. Omnimon, Mewtwo vs. Black Greymon, etc. That last matchup may or may not be my most wanted. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the predictions I'm not so confident about, but it's also the one I most want to be correct because I love Digimon. It is my second favorite franchise ever, and I really want it back on the show, please. I want it so much. Give it to me! The next idea on my bingo is Han Solo vs. Captain Kirk, possibly one of the biggest legacy matchups in the community. Star Trek is one of, if not the single biggest and most influential sci-fi franchise ever. So the fact that DB has never even touched it is wild. And Han vs. Kirk is easily the most prominent idea of the series, and would also just be a really unique match in general to see covered. Plus it got a cast, so that helps. Funny how I'm bouncing back and forth between high legacy matchups and some of the most modern matches possible. But for good reason, because Fall Guys vs. Among Us. Do I have to explain this one? Was on the Season 10 ballot, was second in the 2D poll, got a hugely popular cast. Chad, voice of Boomstick, is notably huge into the idea, and they even reacted in a stream to a fan animation made to shill it for the ballot. It's as confirmed as a non-confirmed matchup can get. And the idea has only gotten more and more popular as Fall Guys and Among Us continue to grow as games. Some of the shit in these games now is fucking... Planet level Among Us is crazy. This matchup is completely different now than it was during the Season 10 ballot. I will be blown away if it doesn't happen this year. Alright, now for a controversial one. William Afton, Purple Guy, the man behind the slaughter, Springtrap. Not everyone is particularly a fan of the idea of FNAF on Death Battle. However, Death Battle themselves has said that there is a possibility of FNAF appearing on the show. So, Springtrap can happen, and he is so fucking requested. Springtrap is likely one of the most requested characters for Death Battle. However, who he is requested to fight changes. Nobody can fucking agree on this dude's opponent. Chucky, Bendy, Junko, etc. all are really popular, along with a shit ton more, but I have no idea who Death Battle would actually go with, so I'm just betting Springtrap, the character, to appear. Why do I say he's likely to appear in Season 11 specifically? No reason. Honestly, I will probably shove this fucker into every single bingo until he appears. He'll always come back. The next one is one I'm less confident for, but still has a good bit of backing. Rayquaza vs. Bahamut. Like most of the ideas here, it had a cast. Casts are a pretty good indicator. Pokemon also is, well, it's Pokemon. It gets views. Despite that, though, it is used shockingly sparingly on the show. The last time Pokemon appeared was in Season 7 with Gorochamp, and before that was Season 4 with Furby. It's weird how underutilized Pokemon is, but with it being Pokemon, it will always have a good chance of happening on the show, and Rayquaza specifically is one of the most iconic and recognizable pocket monsters in the franchise. Similarly to Pokemon, Final Fantasy is a hugely popular franchise, and people have been asking for a non-Final Fantasy VII rep for a while, with Bahamut being one of the most popular in that category. Although, what makes me hesitant with this one is that it has some pretty direct competition. The specific niches it fills that makes it likely, on top of being generally popular, are shared by Kyogre vs. Chaos and Loki vs. Kefka, respectively. Really, I could see any one of these three matchups happening. They're all likely for similar reasons. I just choose Rayquaza vs. Bahamut specifically because it kills 2 dragons with 1 meteorite. Get it? Because they're both dragons and both are related to meteorites. 2 dragons, 1 meteorite, 2 birds, 1 stone. Yeah, I'm not funny, sorry. Next is Luffy vs. Natsu, and this is a prediction I'm gonna get flamed for, because Luffy matchups aren't fun to discuss. However, it's inevitable that Luffy is going to get on the show eventually, and Death Battle has said that they're done waiting for One Piece to finish to bring Luffy on. Which, good. Luffy would be cool to see on the show before the universe collapses. But why Natsu? Why do I think Luffy will fight Natsu? Well, up until recently when Luffy vs. Naruto fans took the community by storm, Natsu was quite easily Luffy's most popular idea. He's also a very requested returning character, and Fairy Tail has an interesting reputation on the show. Also, Natsu did fight Ace in his original episode, but I don't think that's going to impact Natsu's chances of fighting Luffy much, because Batman has never fought a single non-Marvel opponent in any of his 4 appearances, so don't really have any reason to say Luffy wouldn't fight Naruto. It'd be a stretch to try and deny that. I just feel more confident in Natsu. Also, I have major bias towards Natsu. The next match on the bingo is Fear Bradley vs. Solid Snake. 2024 is a presidential election year in the US, and Death Battle has said that if they do this, it'd be for an election year. It's also, in general, just a really popular matchup that the crew has shown interest in via the cast. However, I will also say that this match has a bit of competition because of Honey Valentine vs. Senator Armstrong, another very politically charged and popular matchup that also has a cast. But, I don't know, I just like Bradley vs. Snake better, so yeah, fuck you. That prediction I went second most, to be true, because I didn't want to get on quite a bit more. But Jack Skellington versus the Grunch. We've never had a Christmas-themed episode before, and the crew has shown they'd be down to do one, and this is the Christmas matchup. It's gotten a lot of traction recently, shooting up in popularity, even making the TOC. Plus, Jack and Grinch is just a comparison even normies make outside of the Versus community. This is my 4th most wanted matchup, so I really hope it happens. I thought I had an original idea for the free space until I saw literally everybody else's bingos. Ben 10 is a franchise with a complicated history with Death Battle. They do a Ben 10 episode, whether it's Ben himself or not, and the series loses, Twitter will reap. Reddit too. Ben 10 is always a highly requested franchise for this show, and the controversy around that episode has never really seemed to bother the team all that much. All of November they dedicated the cast to Ben 10 matchups, so it's highly likely that the show will get a run back in Season 11. There's a few options for what it could be. Personally, I'm really hoping for Kevin vs. Gargiel from Fairy Tail. It's one of my most wanted, and Ben vs. Beast Boy, because that's also in my top 10. However, copium aside, Gwen vs. Adam Eve from Invincible is probably the most likely option, and honestly, I'd be hella down for that. It's a really fun matchup that I've always enjoyed, even despite its lack of connections. Would also be down for a Vilgax matchup, because a Rook episode is never happening. And hey, another one of my most wanted, Chucky vs. Slappy.
This is my personal second most wanted matchup, and is here partly because of Copium, and partly because it's just a generally popular matchup that has a big legacy behind it, and would be a great horror episode. It'd be especially good timing because of Chucky Season 3 and the new Goosebumps show, so relevancy for both characters would be relatively fresh, even outside of them just being two of the most iconic horror characters ever. Hell, you could call them two of the most iconic film and book characters respectively, and I would not question it. Bakugo. Just Bakugo. Fucker's gonna get on Death Battle eventually, if not this season, the next. I would personally prefer him to appear next season, because MHA is ending this year, and it'd just be kind of stupid to have him on this close to the end. But Deku had worse timing, so who knows. Bakugo is such a popular and requested character that I will be hella surprised if he ain't on by time Wiz vs. Boomstick happen. He's just the common sense pick at this point. However, the only issue with Bakugo is who the fuck is he gonna fight? Blood has so damn many equally requested matchups. And yet the one I want for him, and one of my top 10 most wanted, is never happening. I'm sorry, Arlo, I can dream. Honestly, I'm cool with most of his ideas. Most. I have 3 separate Halloween ideas on here, but Freddy Krueger versus Pennywise is easily the most likely. It's the one in the TOC, and it would just be a really dope episode. I'd be down for it. Lord Zed vs. Skeletor would be fucking hype if it happened. It's a really highly requested matchup between two of the most iconic 90s villains ever. It got a cast, so the team obviously likes it. And Power Rangers is always a good franchise on the show. However, much as I really like this matchup, I please really do not want it to happen this season. Please give us something other than Mighty Morphin. Power Rangers is such a uniquely expansive franchise. It'd be a shame not to take advantage of that. I'd still be super hyped if this episode happened, but a tad disappointed. Next up is Spy vs. Agent 47, which automatically has a good chance because of the Season 10 ballot. TF2 is also a highly requested franchise to return because its currently only episode is... yeah. The crew also has shown interest in bringing TF2 back. Agent 47 is also there. I'm gonna be honest, I only really see hype for this as a spy matchup. Kurokuma, Lizanne's arch rival, according to the TOC. Koro-sensei is a character the team has been wanting to do on the show for a while, especially Chad. And Danganronpa is a highly requested series, so it has a really good chance. It could be really fun. And I just want Koro on the show. I really want Koro on the show. Please, give me Koro on the show. Please? Please? Alright, on to the last row, and we get to an episode that's practically soft confirmed, especially during the Season 10 ballot. There was so much overwhelming support for Cap vs. Ichigo, Origin making sprite art for it, the cast, etc. If we ever get a Kamen Rider, it's gonna be this one. Cap run back is also cool. Alright, Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes would be so cool to see on the show. And if it just so happens to be him versus Ben, 2 birds, 1 stone. Blue Beetle is one of the most popular modern comic book characters, and with the movie recently releasing, it'd be a shame not to capitalize on him. Especially because Jaime is just one of the most interesting DC heroes they've not yet used. I have him on a solo spot because I'm not 100% sure who he'd fight. Ben is obviously likely, but ops like Generator Rex or Star Force Mega Man are also similarly so. It really is a toss-up in my opinion, though personally I'd prefer him to fight Star Force. Look, this one I know I'm gonna get flack for because indie games is such a huge category, but aside from Shovel Knight, we've never had an indie game rep. And now more than ever, indie games are huge, especially with matches like Sans vs. Judge gaining incredible popularity. Also, make this note that while Sans vs. Judge isn't explicitly on the list, it is in this spot in spirit. Kiryu vs. Dom is one the team is incredibly hyped about, even despite growing controversy around the matchup, so I'd say it's still pretty likely, especially as the team is trying to branch out more on what kinds of episodes they do, and this would be a perfect kind of matchup to do a more unique episode with. It'd also just be hilarious if it happens. Fucking Fast and Furious on Death Battle sounds crazy. And now, ending the bingo just how we started, with episode 200. It's either Mickey vs. Bugs, or Ruby vs. Maka. Other people are saying it could be Light vs. Columbo or Zero Battle Royale, but Ruby vs. Maka and Mickey vs. Bugs just have such a history with the show that I simply don't think any of the other options match. Especially if they said they're not waiting for the series to finish anymore, Ruby is one of the most anticipated characters for the show. I am 100% confident in either this or Mickey vs. Bugs as episode 200. One quick thing before I close out. Gon. Didn't have space for him, but Gon has a damn good chance of appearing in my opinion. Don't know who he'd fight? They're hoping Abane, because if Kyo can have his Who opponent, then Gon can have his. Alright, so that's my bingo and most of my predictions for this season. I'm more confident about some than others, and there are a few copium picks, but I still think it's a pretty solid list. We'll find out how accurate the bingo is soon though, so if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in Death Battle Season 11.